A new streaming miniseries featuring the great Samuel L. Jackson, a new mockumentary-style comedy show on Fox, and a Survivor-esque reality show on CBS are among the 6 new shows we're going to talk about this week. It is TV, news, and reviews. Let's do it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to TV News and Reviews for the week. We are going to have 6 new shows to talk about, including the last days of Ptolemy Gray. This is a big buzz around this show because it is featuring Samuel L. Jackson in the lead role. It is over on Apple TV+. We have a couple of HBO Max series as well, including one starring Jamie Dornan. We've got Welcome to Flatch on Fox, Beyond the Edge, which is a celebrity reality competition on CBS. And then we also have a new show called Harina. And if you're maybe missing some Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it is in the vein of a cop comedy show. But before we get to those, of course, we've got to do the news. So let's talk about the renewals and cancellations for the week. So we'll actually start with the series endings because I only have one of those, and it actually is a renewal and a cancellation all at once. The show Snowfall has been renewed for a 6th and final season at FX. It is currently the network's most watched original drama. Not of all time, but just that is currently on. So tons of buzz around this show. I actually have never seen it. I know it started so long ago, but you know, if something did not premiere after 2019, there's always the chance that it just fell through the cracks for me, because 2019 is when I started doing this review show. So I just never saw it, but I know it has a lot of huge buzz around it, so maybe this is one of these shows that I'll eventually end up binging one of these days. But for Snowfall fans, you will get one season more, but it will be the last. And in terms of renewals, a lot of stuff here. So for Netflix, they've got a bunch of dating shows that they have just renewed. Love is Blind has been renewed for 2 more seasons, seasons 4 and 5. Indian Matchmaking for season 3, and that's before season 2 even gets underway. I guess they filmed it, but it hasn't been put up yet. And then The Ultimatum for season 2 before season 1 starts. That's a gay dating show, I believe. And then there's going to be a Jewish matchmaking show that they've ordered as well. So it's interesting because with a lot of the dating reality shows, Netflix will sort of buck their usual, let's put them all up at once, and they do go with a week-to-week model. Not for all of them, but for some of them. And so obviously, you know, they're seeing good results from that. But usually, of course, Netflix is known for the binging. But it is interesting. I sort of like a reality show or competition show where it is just once a week, you know, so you don't get burned out too quickly of it. But all right, so on ABC, you've got a couple of dramas renewed. The Good Doctor for season 6 and The Rookie for season 5. And they do have that Niecy Nash show that is supposed to be a Rookie spinoff. That is, I don't know if it's been picked up for series yet, but it's still in the works at the very least. So they've got that. CBS, they've renewed, no surprise here, all 3 of their current NCIS series. I don't even know what seasons those are all going into, but the original's got to be, I mean, it's got to be closing in on 20, right? And then the one with LL Cool J, or maybe the original's over already. Maybe the LL Cool J one's the longest one standing. I don't watch any of these shows, so I don't know. But I know the LL Cool J and Chris O'Donnell one has been on for probably at least 10 years now. It's been on a while. All right, over on NBC, Who Do You Think You Are is going to return to network television after over 10 years. NBC ran their last episode of the show in 2022, but it ran on TLC then after that for 3 years in the meantime. I think the last episode overall was in 2018, but this is one of those you know, shows where they're looking at the family trees and everything and the DNA stuff. Lisa Kudrow is one of the co-creators and the producers of that. And then Drew Barrymore, this is very interesting. So the Drew Barrymore show is coming in for a 3rd season. But here's the rub with this. They are changing the format. Right now it is your typical, you know, daily talk show in the vein of a Kelly Clarkson, a Nick Cannon, you know, Ellen even. You know, she talks a little bit about the news of the day, but mostly it's celebrity interviews, whatever. So what they are doing actually for season 3 is making the show into 2 daily half-hour versions. And so stations can opt to air them back-to-back as an hour-long show, Or what a lot of the CBS affiliates are going to do that run it is they're going to run it in the morning. They have like the CBS This Morning show, and then they will do a half hour of local news that will be like a new format. Usually they do like the 5 a.m. news, then CBS This Morning, and then it's like game shows and soap operas till 5. But they are going to do that and then air one of the half hours of Drew Barrymore there. And then I don't know where they air the other one, if it's in the afternoon, if it's in the middle of the night. Here where I live, we get a handful of syndicated shows just in the middle of the night. I think Tamron Hall, I think that's where that airs. I forget the other ones, but yeah, there's a lot of like middle of the night, because with your DVRs and all that kind of stuff on demands, most shows just you watch whenever you want to watch them, so but that's an interesting concept. We'll see what comes of that, but I sort of like that they're doing that. It's interesting. All right, so in some casting news, Gabrielle Union has joined season 3 of Truth Be Told to star opposite Octavia Spencer. She boards the anthology series after Aaron Paul and Lizzie Kaplan did season 1, and then Kate Hudson was part of season 2. I watched season 1 of that. I don't know if I ever will watch 2, because I don't really like Kate Hudson, so if it's sort of an anthology like this, I may just skip to the Gabrielle Union episode for season 3. But anyway, truth be told, if you don't know, follow Spencer's character, who's this podcaster named Poppy, as she risks everything to pursue the truth. And there you go. Gina Rodriguez is going to join a new ABC comedy called Not Dead Yet. This is just a pilot right now, so nothing confirmed, but they will at least make a pilot about it. It is a single camera comedy from This Is Us writers Casey Johnson and David Windsor. So that's interesting. They're going in the comedic route after This Is Us, obviously, is such a huge dramatic show. But the basic plot is the Gina Rodriguez character is going to be a broke, newly single, and self-described disaster who restarts her life and career. That she can only land a job writing obituaries in the current job market, and so she starts giving life advice from that. And then this is very interesting. Harrison Ford is going to take on his first ongoing TV role in a comedy for Apple TV. It's called Shrinking, and it's from the Ted Lasso team, and co-star Jason Segel is also one of the co-creators here. Ford will play Dr. Phil Rhodes, who is a down-to-earth blue-collar shrink and pioneer in cognitive behavioral therapy, and he's sharing a practice with 2 of his proteges, one of them played by Jason Segel, and he's recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's, which forces him out of the comfort zone as he deals with intrusive friends, his estranged family, and his legacy. And this is billed as a comedy. Usually we do not see a lot of Parkinson's comedies, but I guess Michael J. Fox tried his hand with the one like 12 years ago that was very bad and ended very quickly. But all right, so in some odds and ends here, Claim to Fame is coming. I think this is on... I didn't write down who it's from. I think it's either Fox or ABC. But anyway, Claim to Fame is a competition show in which 12 people related to celebrities step outside their famous family member's shadow and live together under one roof, concealing their identity and their lineage in the quest for their own fame and fortune. So this could be interesting. You might not even know, who the famous brother or cousin or sister is while they're living under the roof. So it sort of seems like a Big Brother type thing. So I guess maybe it is CBS. That's not one of the ones I mentioned, but maybe it's CBS. But the producers are going to be, and hosts are going to be Kevin and Frankie Jonas. We've heard Frankie Jonas' name for years and years. He's known as the Bonus Jonas in the Joe Bro circles, of which, I do follow sometimes. I love their music. But he's not part of the Jonas Brothers band, but he's been in several episodes of the TV show and in all like the teen magazines as he was getting older and becoming more of like a teen heartthrob. They sort of threw him some articles and, Bonus Jonas Kevin talks about whatever, or what's his name? Frankie. Kevin's a real Jonas. So anyway, it could be interesting. And I'm thinking now that I'm reading the synopsis, I think it is CBS that's running it. All right, 5 years after it last aired on FX, Feud is coming back. They have pulled the trigger on a second season now. Ryan Murphy, of course, produces this. We all know about the feud for the first season with Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. This one is going to be about Naomi Watts starring as something with Truman Capote's women. And so it's going to be, I guess, with fights that they had about him. It's going to tell the story of how the author had a bitter falling out with a number of New York society women, and the main one, I guess, played by Naomi Watts. Gus Van Sant is going to direct. I don't know if he's directing the whole thing, but at least some of the episodes. So there's a famous name for you as well. And just one thing in reboots and spinoffs this week: The Full Monty is coming to Disney Plus. And before I even tell you about it, so this is very interesting for me because I'm about to watch The Full Monty for the first time ever. Dan's Big Movie is a web series here on YouTube, my YouTube channel, where every month we pick a big anniversary of a movie and dive in to that movie, and then we pair it with something else, and sometimes that's another anniversary, sometimes it's just is a sequel or whatever. But we're doing Big Fat Greek Wedding because that is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and celebrating its 25th is The Full Monty. And I thought, well, that would be a nice pairing because they're basically the two most successful independent comedies of all time. And for a long time, Full Monty was the #1 movie of all time in England until Titanic came out, which was like the same year, but still. But anyway, it's going to be on Disney Plus as an 8-episode limited series. Most of the original cast and producers are in tow for this. It's going to focus on where the characters are now, plus introduce us to their kids and grandkids. So by the time this airs, I will have seen the movie. So I'm very excited about it. And I don't know why it missed me. 97, I was in college. I did not have a car, so if it didn't come to our campus theater, I didn't usually see it, but that was sort of one that fell through the cracks. All right, so let's move on to the reviews, shall we? We've got 6 of them this week, and like I mentioned, I think the biggest one is the Samuel L. Jackson star, The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. This is on Apple TV Plus, and this is I think there's 5 episodes up already of this, since I am a few weeks behind. But that's nice. I always say this because I get to watch then more episodes. So I actually saw the first 3 episodes here for this show. And he plays the title character, Ptolemy Gray, Samuel L. Jackson does. And he is a 93-year-old, very lonely man with dementia. And he, well, I don't want to go too far into it because they don't even really barely scratch the surface with this until the end of episode 2. But I knew what the premise was because I had seen a bunch of commercials for it while watching different Apple shows, and I don't know. I guess I can say about the premise very briefly because it's in the promos, but it doesn't really come up until towards the end of episode 2, which I thought was an odd strategy because I think there's only 8 episodes total for this. But essentially, this doctor played by Walton Goggins allows. He figures out this formula, and it's a test case for Ptolemy to possibly remember not only like his past as a normal person would remember, but he will remember every single thing he's ever known about anything and anybody. But it's temporary. It's only a few hours apparently, and he uses the time to investigate the death of his nephew. So it's a really interesting show. And for sci-fi heads, I think it will really scratch an itch that's kind of been missing. I mean, I think it's probably the best sci-fi show I've seen since maybe that season of Devs that they had on FX, or maybe it was Hulu, whatever, Hulu on FX, whatever the moniker was at the time, with Nick Offerman, which I never did finish, but I saw, again, the first 3 of those, and I really liked it. I should go back for that, I know. But this has a great premise. It's this man with, and first of all, we already love Samuel L. Jackson anyway because of who he is. So great casting choice there because it really puts us right away in the the frame of like, okay, this is the hero of the story regardless of whatever's going on. We love Sam Jackson, and he's this feeble old man, and the makeup team is great here as well. He really, and look, Samuel L. Jackson is much older than he looks. When I found out he was like almost 70. Maybe now he is 70, I don't know, but my jaw just dropped. Like, I thought he was in his 50s still, so the makeup team did very well here. And it seems from the titles that each episode is going to sort of be about a different person in Ptolemy's life. And so far, we are getting that. The first 3 is sort of different, named for different characters, and they are sort of the focal point. They are sort of who is taking care of Ptolemy Gray in this episode. But yeah, I mean, I think they're. It's a little bit interesting that they're not really making good on the theme of this show until halfway through. Three-quarters of the way through the second episode. It's touched on very, very, very briefly in episode one. Um, but other than that, it's more of so far like a character study, and then we really sort of dive into the depths of the sci-fi stuff as we're getting into the second and third episodes. So I do think it's an interesting choice to sort of hold back a lot of that stuff, because the trailers made it seem like that was going to be very, very much front and center. And I guess it becomes that way throughout, but the first episode and most of the second, just more of a character study, which I really liked. And what's funny is I like both pieces of this. I like the character study stuff. I like the sci-fi angle of it with the memory coming back and all of that. So for me, I think this is a really, really good one. Like a lot of these shows, a lot will depend on the sort of, last episode, how they wrap it up. And we won't know that for a few weeks still because Apple just drops one a week. So for now, though, it's really, really good. This grade could go higher by the end of this series, but for now, I give Ptolemy Gray an A-. Up next, we're going to talk about The Tourist, and this is another one where sort of memory is at the center. This is on HBO Max, and it stars Jamie Dornan from the 50 Shades movies, and recently he was in Belfast, which was an excellent film. But he is the victim of a car accident and wakes up in the hospital with amnesia and is trying to sort of piece his life back together. And as we go, we sort of, everybody he meets is a possible somebody from his past, maybe. We don't know. Some of them have been. And this is a case where we see a lot of these stories these days with amnesia. Blind Spot was a big one on NBC where she had all the tattoos. But the things they can do with that is sort of let the audience into what the character doesn't know. Like they let us see, okay, well, this person's going to be this, or, but here we don't actually get this. It's a lot of mystery in this show, and I kind of liked that angle of it. I like that they were sort of, we are almost don't know any more than he knows, because at the very beginning, and I said about the car accident because that does happen quickly on, but he basically, we don't know who this person is, but he rents a car, he's driving along the road, and all of a sudden this tractor trailer comes out and is following him and starts, running into his car, and who knows why? We don't know. He doesn't know. And so right from the start, we're all sort of like, okay, what's going on? So I think it really works as a mystery show. It's definitely tense at times. And I think Jamie Dornan has become a pretty solid actor, like his co-star Dakota Johnson. They've both sort of shed the 50 Shades, I don't want to say like negativity, but it wasn't known for being a great movie series. And so it's great to see both of them sort of doing different things and more, independent things or things that just showcase their range a little bit more. I thought Belfast was a great showcase of his range. And I think this is another one. This is a whole nother side. I don't remember seeing, quite this mystery thriller element to Jamie Dornan's acting career before, but I think he's excellent in this. He really is playing like he does not know what's going on and sort of trying to, pick the pieces up. So I think this is a very good show. Now, it aired actually in January in Australia, which is where it comes from. But HBO Max just got it a couple of weeks ago, so it is new to us, the U.S. audience, so that's why I'm reviewing it now. But no, this was another pretty good one. Again, might depend on where we go and how the mystery does get solved, but another very good one. I'm going to give The Tourist a B+. All right, over to Fox for Welcome to Flatch. This is a mockumentary sitcom in the vein of like a Parks and Rec. There are cameras that the people are talking to, and we, ever since The Office, shows try to sort of capture that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it makes no sense, like Modern Family, which I liked that show, but it was never explained. They were just talking to us, the audience. I mean, it was fourth wall breaking, it's not like they were really talking to a camera, I guess, but here the cameras are, the cameramen are being talked to, and the camera women, and the mic holders, the boom mic people. So we are in the thick of this immediately, unlike The Office, which finally the last season they were like, oh, let's have them actually acknowledge the people doing the documentary or whatever, the last two seasons. But no, this is a documentary crew is following them around. And the people you might know here are Sean William Scott from the American Pie movies. He plays Father Joe, who is a reverend, actually, but they keep calling him Father as if he's a Catholic priest. And then Aya Cash is here as well. And I know her best from You're the Worst, which was a great show on FXX years ago. But everybody else, I think, is pretty new here. But Chelsea Holmes and Sam Straley are sort of the leads. They play cousins, and it's this small town feel. I have mixed feelings about this show. I think there is potential here, but I feel that the lead characters, specifically the girl, what's her name again? Chelsea Holmes. And this is the character. It's no detriment to her. I'm sure she's a lovely person. But they have made this character so unlikable immediately and so brazenly irritating right away that I think it's going to turn some people off. And Hulu did something smart. They put the first 7 episodes up on Hulu while Fox is running them. I think they've only aired maybe 3 of these, but you can watch the first 7 on Hulu, and I think that might be a good idea because I think people might need to dive into these characters a little bit deeper than what we see on the surface. Now, they do have this sort of ongoing thread of a strained relationship between her and her father, so okay, we get a little bit of sympathy there maybe, but she's just brutally irritating, and I think that's the point. But I'm not sure how that's going to come across as the series progresses. Like Leslie Knope was maybe annoying, but in like a positive way. Like she was a good person, good moral code, hard worker. This girl has none of that. It would be like I love the Aziz Ansari character, but it would almost be like if Tom Haverford was sort of the main character in Parks and Rec. I don't think the show would work. He's a little too irritating. You love it once you get to know him through all the other episodes. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about where this will go, but I have to admit I did laugh a few times. I think Sean William Scott and Aya Cash have great chemistry together. They play exes. She moved to the town basically to be with him, and then they broke up immediately. So there's a lot of jokes about that, and I always like seeing him. I think he's funny, and it sort of pokes a lot of fun at small town America. So I'm not sure if they will be on board with it. Like The Middle did too, the ABC sitcom. But that was a little more tongue-in-cheek, I think. This is a little more sort of like straight up making fun of these people. So I don't know how that's going to go over. I don't know. I'm in the middle right now on this show, but I think it may be one that I continue watching. Sitcoms I tend to watch more than the dramas that come out just because they're easier to sort of 20-minute bites. So most of the sitcoms of this season I'm caught up on, so I may continue watching this, and hopefully it hooks me a little bit more than these first couple episodes did. I leave Welcome to Flatch with a C+. Next is Beyond the Edge. This is over on CBS. It's basically a Survivor Amazing Race type of thing, but this is about celebrities, and they're all doing this for charity, and basically the participants are living in this jungle for 14 days and compete as 2 different teams to raise money for their individual charities. Different charity chosen by each celebrity, but each participant decides their own fate basically when they go home. There's no sort of the tribe has spoken stuff. If you have had enough, you ring this bell and you go home and you say goodbye. So I don't know a lot of these people, to be honest. Some of them are, reality show staples. Some of them are sports stars that I do not know. But I know a few. I know Lauren Elena, which a lot of people might not, but she came in second place on American Idol like 10 years ago. So I back when I was still watching that. So I know her, but she has a country music career going. So, that's cool. And then there's another country singer here I'm not really familiar with, Craig Morgan. I guess I've heard the name before. Paulina Poroskova, I know. She was a supermodel back in the day. Jodie Sweetin, I certainly know from Full House. And then Meta World Peace from the NBA. I know him and I've heard of him. I've never seen him play or anything, but I know he used to go by Ron Artest. But the other half, I've never heard of these people. Mike Singletary, Ebony K. Williams, don't know who these people are. Ray Lewis is NFL linebacker. I mean, if you're a sports fan, I'm sure you know who these people are. I do not. But anyway, I think this is kind of a poor imitation of Survivor, and there's a few reasons why. First of all, I don't know how I feel about the fact that people just decide when they want to leave. Like, it's for your charity. You're not even getting the money. So essentially, if you're like, well, whatever, I'm just going to quit. I mean, these are all celebs. They could write their charity a check anyway and be like, oh, sorry, I bailed, on the show. So I think that's a little bit of a, I don't want to say a cheat, but it's just like, it's kind of unfortunate that they don't have. But of course, okay, it's already Survivory enough. If they do try bespoken kind of stuff, then you're really getting into Survivor territory. But even the last part of the episode where they're around a campfire talking about their things, it's like just like Survivor. I think one of the big stumbling blocks of this show, though, is the announcer. So I just went through this last week with the Domino Masters program because the one guy is stiff as a board on there. This guy's the opposite. He's not stiff, but Mauro Ranallo, he is a play-by-play announcer at the MMA. And so he is used to calling these, big, bold things, and he treats this show just like that. His announcing is very annoying. It's way too over the top for a show like this. Jeff Probst, I think we can all admit, is the king of this. He is the best of the reality competition hosts. RuPaul maybe gives him a run for his money, but he was like the original. He is so great in that role. And I like Phil Keegan as well on Amazing Race too. He's fine. But Jeff Probst, let's face it, is like the A+, right? He is the pinnacle. This dude is so over the top. Just in talking to the people, he's over the top. It's obnoxious. So I can't stick with this show. I don't know half these celebrities. It's too much of a Survivor ripoff. In fact, Jodie Sweetin, by the way, is everywhere. I just saw her last night on Name That Tune. They're doing like a celebrity version this season of Name That Tune on Fox. She was on that. So she's been popping up. And she's, I guess, my favorite because she's the one I know the most on here. But this is not something I can even be bothered to care about. If you like this kind of show, keep watching Survivor. Many people still are, 41 cycles in or whatever it is. Just watch that and you'll get your fill. Tough as Nails is another CBS one that this is sort of trying to mimic as well because it's mostly like, tough athletic kind of stuff. This for me was a sure miss. I leave Beyond the Edge with a D+. DMZ is next. This is a streaming series, another HBO Max one, and it stars the great Benjamin Bratt and Rosario Dawson, and it's from a DC Comics publication. I don't know if it's from a comic series or a manga or whatever, but the premise is that Rosario Dawson's character is a medic in New York City, but they are in the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, and she's trying to find her son who wandered off years ago instead of sticking with her during an evacuation period during the Second American Civil War. Well, we're getting there, I think. But this series could be interesting, but I think it doesn't take enough chances with the material, or they take too many chances with material and there's not enough room for everything, because it's only a 4-episode series. And I watched half of it. I was actually, if it impressed me more, I would have watched all 4 episodes because I did have a little extra time to do that. But after the second episode, I was like, all right, I think I can grade this without really going through all episodes because I'm sort of over it. But they've either packed it too tightly and should have given it like 6 episodes, or it should be a 2-hour movie, and they just shouldn't have pulled on all the threads. Like, there's a lot of loose threads here that they're not even going back to. Maybe they do in the later episodes, I don't know. But they're starting so many different threads, I think it would be hard to wrap all of them up in just 4 episodes. And so because of that, we never really get enough time with the material to figure out whether or not, okay, yes, this is this is something I'm intrigued in. Oh, we're over now to this other thing, and we're never going to talk about that again, or we're never going to talk to that person again. So there's some weird line here where it's like this one needed to be either 2 extra episodes or 2 episodes shorter and just been a movie. So it never quite strikes that balance for me. And other than the two leads, and there's a couple other people here. Mamie Gummer is here, Meryl Streep's daughter. She's fine. But a lot of the side characters are pretty bad in the acting department. I didn't find them believable in the roles. So it's kind of a mess. It has a good premise, though. Like, I'm kind of curious now to read the graphic novel and see if it comes off a little bit better than this. Rosario Dawson sort of giving her all. I wanted to see more of her in Briar Patch, but that got canceled after one season, so that was kind of unfortunate. But, this is okay for what it is, I guess, but it's either doing way too much or way too little. I can't quite figure out which, or maybe it's both, depending on, the perspective. But either way, this is not much of a winner for me. DMZ gets a C-. All right, so finally we have Harina. This is produced in part by Comedy Central, but it is on Prime Video. And this is basically, when I saw a trailer for it, I thought, okay, they're definitely going after the, if you miss Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because that's wrapped up, this is your new sort of bumbling cop show. Does not quite fit that bill. Certainly not nearly as good as Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That is, again, talk about pinnacle. We love that show. But this is still very good. I think this has a lot of potential. I see more potential in it probably than Welcome to Flatch. But this involves the misadventures of Lieutenant Harina and his partner, a female named Officer Ramirez. And they are a pretty special couple on the police force. And as the season goes on, we see sort of what's going on. It is an ongoing sort of thread plot line. I watched the first two of these, and these are... it's an ongoing serialized show. It's not quite... I feel like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for the most part, was pretty episodic until sort of, they would do like cliffhangers on the season's end and stuff. But at first glance, I thought, okay, this guy's an idiot and too much of an idiot. Like Jake Peralta in Nine-Nine, he's an idiot, but he actually is pretty competent at his, policing, whether or not he stumbles into things or not. He sometimes gets the bad guy. This guy's a mess. He's a drug addict for one thing, and there's a big meme going around about his coke habit, and he's going through a custody hearing. And so this sounds like, more intense stuff, but they do actually wring some laughs from it. And this is originally from, I think, Mexico, so you can watch it either in the original Spanish or you can watch it with the dubs. I chose to do one episode of each. One thing I did notice, though, the dub, the dialogue doesn't necessarily match up. Whoever's writing the captions will really, really shorten sentences or change them. Not necessarily the meaning completely, but, they'll be saying one thing, and the dialogue on the closed captions is... they'll completely miss words. Or the intent is still the same, but it was interesting. Usually I don't see that. But anyway, it didn't detract me from the show. But I think this has a lot of potential. For the two comedies this week, this one is the one I see more potential in for sure. And I like that it's a Comedy Central production. I don't believe it aired on television. If it does, they will have to certainly edit it down with the cursing, because there is a lot of that in this show. But I don't think it's the worst thing to sort of replace that Brooklyn Nine-Nine feeling. We're not going to get another show like that probably for a long, long time with that great ensemble. This is more of a two-hander. This is more about the couple, the partners in crime here, but the captain is a part of it as well. The first scene was in the precinct with a bunch of different people, so that gave me the vibe immediately, but it doesn't end up really that way. It's more about those two police officers. So overall, I think this is a show with a lot of potential. I'm going to leave Harina with a B+. All right, so that will do it. We have, I always say we're catching up, playing catch up. Moon Knight, I know, is out. One good thing about Moon Knight is they've only been releasing one a week. Sometimes with the Marvel shows, they'll put up two that first week. With Moon Knight, they only put up one. So I'll be able to watch at least 2, maybe 3 episodes by the time I get to reviewing it. So that is a positive there. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye.